You know, we've been thinking a lot about design and RVs, and we've had quite a few of all sorts of different designs, whether it's different colors, different sizes, different model types, whether Class A, B, C. It's fascinating because, you know, one of the things that we think about when we think about our old Airstreams is just how beautiful they are.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, we're here at Airstream. But that's the thing, is that people think of Airstreams and they think they're beautiful. Now, there's always going to be somebody, because design is not universal.
Right.
There's always somebody that goes, oh, they're ugly. And obviously, aesthetics aren't everything.
Right.
But it's fascinating because the design of the Airstream being metal, you know, you'd think it would communicate a certain thing.
Right.
For us, it fell short on that promise. We found our Escape, and it's a completely different material, but it also communicates a little differently. Here they have the Heritage Museum, which is a really, really cool setup they've got going, showing vintage Airstreams, some modern, but they even have a fiberglass unit in here. And then they have, what do they call it, Grandma and or Granddad?
Yeah, I think Granddad.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a look at some of these. But I think it's safe to say the design is probably the single most important thing when it comes to running a successful company.
Yeah.
Whether it's Apple, right, and there's always gonna be people that love or hate it. Whether it's an RV company, an automotive company.
Right.
Design communicates things that it evokes emotion.
Right.
The user experience is entirely dictated by design, but trying to think through all the complexities of design is sort of overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, without a degree of, you know, but instead we can just go through and enjoy and point out kind of what matters to us. And we'll take a look at the Heritage Museum. Also, just a little sneak peek, this is the new facility, it's a few years old now, where they build just the tin cans here, the silver Twinkies. One of the things that probably stands out first is the aluminum, the shape, right? But also the lights. I mean, just look at, the way everything is engineered, uniform, symmetrical, things like that, where the Bambi only gets one set of round tail lights, the Caravelle gets two sets of round tail lights, and then everything else, until you get to the classic or the special edition units, get these kind of oval, pill-shaped. Now, there's all sorts of good history here. It's worth checking out if you're in the area. But this guy is an Airstream Clipper, so 1936. And it's fascinating because you can see the super long panels that they had here, and then they would layer these panels, and you have the center, center deal here. You have the bumper, which is kind of very different from what we have today, and the taillights. The taillights really tell a story. Now this guy has two taillights. We'll even see single taillight units going forward. But the inside of these were all painted wood.
This one was actually delivered to the President of Mexico in 1936 by Wally by him himself.
Yeah. The man was good at what he did. Great. Oh, actually, fascinating. If you look up there, you can see those are the vents. That's what it looks like on the inside, and this is the outside. It had at least 4 vents up there. 5, actually. But quite a different design, actually. How large the door is, or rather isn't. You can see I'm standing up on the ground. That is a pretty short doorway here.
They called this one El Circo.
El Circo. This face is almost, kind of reminds me, it's like medieval, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like the eyes.
It gives it a personality.
It is very fascinating. It's sort of symmetrical with the backside here too. That design did not last super, super long.
I wish it did though.
It's kind of mean looking. But you can see here's another Clipper, 1938 Clipper. And this one does not have painted walls. But it is sure pretty nice and stained. Unlike the frillies that they have on the other unit, these ones just had kind of what looked like wood blinds, maybe plastic. But back then I don't think they were using a lot in the way of plastic, so we'll go with wood. This one also has some eyebrows on it. Now the design to me inspires confidence. It's very short, but it's very personal. It almost feels sort of like the iMac G3. They wanted you to interface with it. They gave it a handle for a reason. This one almost feels like it's so personal somehow.
Yeah.
It feels personal. But the aluminum, you gotta wonder what type of aluminum. This one doesn't have any dents, or apparently they've been repaired.
This one's old Granddad.
This is old Granddad. Now, while I doubt this was the original trailer, they were sort of a little advertising stunt. They were pulling it with little bicycle here.
I think if Joel could pull out a trailer with a bicycle, he would.
You bet your bippy I would. Oh man, I love, this is probably my favorite design. So actually, notice the single tail lamp. That's kind of interesting to me. Also, like logos. I mean, even logos communicate quite a bit, which probably is intuitive to most folks.
This one's in 1949 and they lost the eyeballs. It has like a single pill-shaped window on the front versus 2 eyeballs.
Yeah, I think this was technically supposed to be like a cheaper unit or more affordable unit. But I really like the single window there. It's really cute. But it almost looks like a porthole of sorts, right? Like it's a treat to look out.
I wish that they put the prices that these units cost at the time they were sold on, oh wait, they did right here. Cost $435 to $585.
Yeah. Now, see, this one is completely different. I think a lot of these trailers were of this style at the time, where you had a flat wall, and I'm sure that's easier to make, but it's a very different design language to the rounded shape. This is more aircraft inspired, let's say. This little guy is called a wee wind, but yeah, look at, so this one has been painted, and
this one was 1,200 pounds, 16 feet long, and cost between $14.95 and $15.70.
It even has a little rain gutter here. That's really cute. This is also probably a head bunker. Like, these feel like they're made for the person, right?
Yeah, and this one's name was Ruby, and it was the shortest Airstream ever produced at the time.
Ruby, what, 14, 16 feet?
16 feet.
16 feet. I love that. Ruby, so cute. But you see, like, the longer unit almost feels like it's telling you, I can hold more people. I can.
It's for the family, it's not just for the couple.
But it also kind of looks slower than the little guys, doesn't it? Like, it almost communicates that language. Now, again, I don't think that the language is universal by any means. Wow, this one feels huge.
Can you imagine paying $4,000 for this?
I think that was pretty expensive back in 1949. I think that was pretty pricey. But doesn't it, so the longer it is, it almost seems like it would be slower, but it can do more, right? Or maybe there's more people with you. But the interesting thing is, it's also shorter.
Yeah.
That communicates a lot, you know? Kind of like the way that if we're in a small car, we get tailgated significantly more than if we're in a big truck.
Yeah.
There's a different expectation. I think these things are so fascinating, right? Because you have to find the right balance of functionality and design. Now, this one has been repainted, but this was Wally Byham's, the founder of Airstream. This is one of his trailers. And you can see the position of that light. Obviously, we move them up now, but
This is 22 feet long, and it was built in 1957. This was called the World Traveler.
there's a bullhorn. He used to hang around and when he went out on his adventures. Now, the anodized, they were playing around with like anodized colors. They actually would fade at different rates. And there's a shot of his signature. They would fade at different rates, and so this one has been repainted. But if you're part of the WBCCI or the Airstream Club, this is number one. But you know, even something as simple as the hardware for the door, that communicates something, right?
I like the drawers under the couch. They're slightly sloped, so you don't lose any foot space, but also they're just like very like subtle, simple drawers.
Now the color, doesn't it seem more regal? Actually, in China, gold is, and it might have actually shifted, right? It's a cultural thing, but gold signified importance and value in China, which is actually why Apple went to gold or rose gold. They found that it was more favorable to go to rose gold in the US. But, I mean, there's some obvious design communications here, right? But look at this guy. Airstream bubble, isn't that cute? Isn't that adorable? This had some modifications, I think, to it. But this had gone out on one of the caravans, I believe, one of the big around the world things.
Something fun about this one, there is a built-in bathtub underneath one of the dinette seats.
What? In here?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it back here? Maybe it's back. No, that's a bed.
Onto the dinette seat.
Interesting. Good for them.
I like that retro ruby fabric.
This is really cute. See, there's something about this, though. It's more adorable.
I know I am.
It looks like it's just built for an individual, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe two people, but probably just like a one person, like a solo traveling rig.
Yeah.
And to match with the solo, look at the simple design of the wheels here. I love that. But I don't think I pointed this out yet. These little teardrop lights they've stuck with. because it looks like it's moving forward. And it is fascinating because these guys, you know, they weren't all kept under cover. That one, oh, she's got a big old bump on her noggin there. And some of these do have some little like hail dance or tree dance or whatever, but this little Bambi.
This Bambi is 16 feet long and it cost $31.90 when it was purchased in 1963.
You know, it's interesting that they didn't have, it looks like they have aluminum walls. These might have been painted, but today they're reflective.
Yeah.
Which does communicate something very different, right? It reflects the outside. The windows are smaller in these, just part of technology, I'm sure, at the time.
This one also had the seven panel front end.
Oh, they switched it because they had, what, 13 before?
I think it was 13, yeah.
Something like that. This one even has a front spotlight, which makes me think it's more built for adventure and looking out. I don't know, what do you guys think? Oh, there's a water fill here, that's kind of cool. I actually really like this. This is kind of cool. So it's another piece of aluminum that they've screwed to it, but you can keep that plate even if you continue traveling and just add more to it. And they went to a bigger design. This is what a 63 Tradewind Airstream.
This one's 24 feet long.
Look at the taller windows. And that is what people love the most. I love the single sofa here. That's what people love about the Airstreams is the big windows.
Something feels so homey about this front sofa, like a true sofa with like a rug in front of it.
Yeah. Like you walk in.
You have a designated living space. It's not a multi-purpose space. That feels very homey.
Yeah. This is really cool. The lower pane here also, you know, it's like inviting you to look out. And today we have just these massive windows, but these ones, and there's a balance, right? Too much versus too little windows. These feel like they're a little cozier maybe, like you're protected from the elements. Little plastic lamps here on these. I don't know if those were original, but as the technology changed, of course, so did, yeah, what do you think? So the big windows are very nice when you're sitting in on a rainy day.
Yeah.
But I also, smaller windows, like I can look out, I can see out, good visibility, but I feel cozier and I don't know.
I feel like it depends on this, like the space. Like in the bedroom, I think smaller windows are a little cozier and feel more like safe and secure at night when you're sleeping. Yeah. In a living space in a kitchen, you want big, bright, and airy.
Yeah, which I think this struck a balance. You have the tall windows, multiple, you know, dual stacked. This guy didn't have the same.
Well, and I think when they started adding the Vista View windows.
Oh, up top?
Up top,
I love those.
That helped a lot with the light, bright, and airy.
Well,
made you feel like you were outside.
And like you immediately recognize some of these patterns, right? Because all of this is pattern, all is design is patterns and balance, but you immediately recognize this as non-American or non-Canadian, and the blue beret they used to wear.
This one right here.
It was interesting because that, along with the red lettering, signifies formality, right, and uniformity. And here, actually speaking of, these are prototypes for different designs. I gotta say, I love the front end of this. The rest of it kind of looks maybe a little too futuristic. But a lot of folks don't know, Airstream took a venture into fiberglass. And so this is the only one in the world of its type. There was only 2 of these Wally Bs made. And this one had to be completely recreated. It was used as a cargo trailer last. Somebody was crazy enough to try to recreate this. And this is very interesting. They didn't refinish the inside walls because they didn't know, I think it was like they didn't know what it would have been.
The prototype plastic fiberglass trailer was designed by Marius Hansen, supervisor of production at Airstream's California factory. The interior walls were left unfinished when built and were preserved that way during restoration.
I really love the front dinette here. I mean, it could be flipped either way, right? It doesn't matter. But I also really love the lounger back here, which I'm sure turns into the bed or would have turned into the bed. I really love that. Now, the fiberglass is so durable, which is part of why Wally wanted to go to it. The fiberglass is theoretically stronger. Hail is not going to break that, right? Sailboats use it. They used to call it, though, plastic fiber or something like that. It's
plastic fiberglass, yeah.
Plastic fiberglass, yeah. But
I do like the lounger in the back.
This is really cool. Yeah, I love an L shape, and I think that could easily be modded. This one doesn't appeal to me in the slightest. Wally Byam's Holiday. They were looking for ways, I think, to save money. Oh, this one has a bunk. Oh. The Argosy Minuet or Minuet?
Minuet.
6 meter. So were they trying to go international with these at these times?
They might have been. It also has a rear bathroom, and you see the rolly cabinet.
I really hate these. They are like the worst thing to actually use. Now there's no cabinetry up front. And this is kind of interesting because a lot of folks may not realize they actually were using it was a different type of aluminum, I believe, on the front cap.
Yeah.
And they also painted these, where most of them were not painted prior. That's kind of a big deal. And as a matter of fact, I think it was WBCCI, they didn't want these owners, right? Because this was more of a mid-priced unit. They wanted to have a bigger audience. They didn't want these in their club. So it took a while. This guy, I like the lights. That's kind of fun. This is an electric prototype that they have, the E-Stream.
I like the interior design of this. It feels electric, but it feels very modern.
Whoa.
It feels very European.
So Christopher C. Dean, back in the early 2000s, actually came through, I think it was like 06, maybe something like that, came through and he reimagined what these could be. And he said, well, the outsides are so beautiful and curved, but the insides sort of suck. You know, they're really harsh, they're sharp, they're dark. And he came through and he came up with these new designs. They're still using them very well today. This is a very interesting, a lot of color in here. Now they're a lot more muted and toned down, but we've kept a lot of the shapes. And even something like this switch here. Now, interestingly, we had that switch in our Globetrotter and it just felt really plasticky. Didn't love that. So the design might look good, but then feel bad. And if it does, it really cheapens. Oh, this is interesting how they went with the black frame here. But it really kind of cheapens the feel of it, you know? Because it's the tactile and the sound.
We're going to talk about a Debbie Downer. This is a 1984 Airstream funeral coach.
Really, wow.
You can travel with the dead friends and the live friends all in one spot.
Yeah, folks could travel with the casket here. This, nice and luxury, right? Seems. Yeah, they really try to get out into a different market with these. I wish they'd have put a regular motorhome. I don't know that I would have put this on display, but it is interesting.
They actually did this because there was a recession in the 70s and they launched their Class A motorhome, so they were trying to market for versatility.
They also had the A-Van, which was like a big delivery cargo truck, which is kind of cool. Now they have this little display here also. Oh, look, A-Van. It's one of them. But you can see how the logo has changed over the years, and you know, that's a very different design, right? And this is a more modern, I really like it. It's kind of a vintage with modern. It's almost a combination, right?
We had this one and this one.
We sure did. I actually really like the new pill shape, personally. But, you know, that'll probably fall out of style in 20 years, right? Kind of reminiscent there. And it's interesting. So Product Red, which is an AIDS foundation, trying to resolve that. Kind of similar style here with the Nest, which is kind of something. Now, red versus blue. I always associate blue with Airstream, not red. So that really feels a little different.
What is the Cruisette?
The what? Cruisette? I have no idea. I'll put an image of that right here, but I've never heard of it. That wasn't here last time.
It's a sticker.
Now this is kind of fun. So the international with the American flag representation here. You can go overseas and you can get one of these. They are a pretty penny and a little differently designed.
There's one for the Asian market.
Oh, actually I had no idea they were, you know, but the US flag is actually very important. Yeah, it's literally a badge of honor. This is kind of a cool thing, but not only the shape of it, right? Also the design of just a simple logo, a switch, a handle, how it feels. As a matter of fact, one of the things frequently when you go to a dealership, they go, hey, open and close the door, and you can slam it and just feel that quality, right? It's not an accident. Now I will say, we were just talking about the door handle on the new Escalade. Absolute trash, crap. And if even the handle isn't considered, the rest of the vehicle can't be, right? That's the way it seems. Now this restoration, it's a
1941 Airstream Clipper. This one was basically gutted when it was found, and then they like renovated based on a few photos.
Yeah, they only had a couple photos. This was not done by Airstream. This was actually done by a third party.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fascinating. The tone of the warm tone in there, it's definitely, it's warmer, it's cozier, right? Look at these turn signals. Those are kind of cool. This is old Grandma. That's cool. This is quite a treat to be able to see.
Still like they have the eyeball-esque appearance here.
You talking about this shelf up
On
here?
the front, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just like the glasses.
Yeah. And it appears even more sleek with these side skirts. Although that would, you know, maybe be functionally more of a pain to change your tires out. The warm wood in here, that is, you know, I really like it, but you don't love that as much.
No, I don't, personally.
It's a little darker.
But I do like the Tiffany lamp in there.
That's a Tiffany lamp?
Yep.
To me, the kind of lighter, brighter, it just comes out more clean. It's a little simpler. And I would say a really cluttered interior can clutter the mind,
Yeah.
you know? And so when you live in it constantly, you might want something different. You know, these almost seem simpler than a lot of today's designs, or I guess we're kind of getting back to that. Is that a front bath?
This
No, front kitchen.
This 1955 Airstream cruiser was used by Wally and Stella Byam on the 1956 European Caravan.
Oh,
He
yeah.
painted it white to match his tow vehicle, a white Cadillac. Which
She's
helped
been
him
around.
Which helped him stand out as the Caravan leader.
Yep, there's number one on that. Now, these are some interesting windows, but I like the kind of egg-shaped chairs. But yeah, also the split. You know, to me, when I see a couple maybe not sleeping in the same bed, I kind of think, okay, maybe somebody snores a lot. But other folks might just say, well, that's just more functional, it's more comfortable, and oh, look at that. Even strapped. That's how they strapped a bike. That's kind of cool. I'll have to take a page out of that playbook. Look at that. Something that's very important to me is the rounded edges versus a sharp edge. And for example, Forest River, as well as some of the Thor subsidiaries, have started going with a sharp, like perfectly square window instead of a rounded corner window.
Yeah.
I like the rounded corner. It's almost like it seems like a softer landing almost.
I think that there's more like the rectangles, like the hard rectangles, is more residential.
But this is so much cozier, isn't it? These smaller units. And like the fifth wheels are they're very nice. You have all the features, but it doesn't, to me, they don't feel like home. It kind of feels like a McMansion on wheels, and some of them at least, right? You've seen it. And although if you see it out in Quartz, you're like, man, they got a lot of room, you know? Yeah. But it does present differently. Like they're big and lumbering. But they also come off as folks that are, not necessarily that it's true, but it comes off to me. Like they're folks that are not as down to earth, right? That they like things.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a different value system. And I think that's why there's a whole club, a long-lasting club surrounding the designs of these, right?
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of funny, just the Playboy bunny talk about a memorable design. I think that's something that we really like about our Escape as well, is that we have the durability, right? But we have a lot of the beautiful design of these little guys. It's not too big, but it's by far not too small. And I know a lot of folks might not share that sentiment, you know. I think it's a pretty good size.
Especially since we're living in it, yes.
Yeah. Anywho, let me know, what do you love or not love about your particular rig, or the rig that you want in the future? And I think of Airstream, and I think Airstream keeps comparing themselves to Porsche. I don't see the resemblance at all. They're it's a completely different design language.
Yeah.
And there is a whole language around this. We'll try to keep bringing this up, because it's really, what does it say when you see it, you know?
Yeah.
And for example, I would hope that when someone sees our Escape, they think of like a sailboat almost. It's kind of color scheme, you know?
Yeah.
And when you see the fiberglass, because you can kind of tell when something's fiberglass versus metal, obviously. It sort of evokes a different emotion.
Yeah.
And
I'm just wondering what specific design features really drew people to the rigs that they have.
yeah. If you leave a comment below, even like our Class C, I'm thinking about the Esteem, and I'm like, there was something about it. It's like, you know it's a truck, but they just slapped a house on it. And it's just like, you know, or with our Holiday Rambler, it was just so excessive. I just wanted to live there for a while, and you always looked down on people when you're like, man, I want to live in that luxury. Yeah. And did it live up to your expectations? Let us know. We will see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.
Bye.